All right. Also in the bantamweight division, in a bout that opened up the main card of UFC 292, Sterling versus O'Malley, Marlon Chito Vera got it done over Pedro Munhoz by unanimous decision. Scorecards were at 30-27, 30-27, and 29-28, all for the winner, Vera. Omar, let's start with you. Give us your take and your impressions of Chito getting it done.
Man, when we were watching this fight live, when we were getting this round one, we were like, man, Cheeto's got to get going from moment one. He can't let any of this moment pass. And round one's going, and we're like, all right, well, I think he let round one go. I think we let that one go. So it was. I thought it started off a little rough in that regard. I definitely thought he dropped round one. Round two, I thought got a little bit more competitive from Cheeto's side as far as the damage that Munhoz was taking. And as the fight went on, I was getting the feeling that Cheeto might have been up on the scorecards just because of the amount of damage that Munhoz was wearing throughout that fight, even in round one, to be honest. And like we've alluded to earlier in this episode so far, Cheeto doesn't tend to wear a whole hell of a lot in a fight. Like it's very rare to see him beat up and damaged and even visibly fucking bruised. Like his body doesn't even bruise. So it's weird to see Munhoz taking that much damage when I thought Munhoz looked like the more active fighter, looked like he was throwing more volume, looked like he was just doing a little bit more in that fight. But Cheeto was just landing, I think, the harder strikes, the ones that were more solid, the ones that were doing more damage. And I feel like that just continues to be the story of Chito Vera. I don't think he got all three rounds. Like I said, I do think he lost round one. Definitely by the time we got to round three, I had that one for Chito. I think that's probably the least difficult round to score. But round two, round two is a little sketchy. Sketchy.
Okay. Mark?
So we're finally a little different, which in terms of the rounds, which you'll see what I mean. But yeah, this was a really close competitive fight. Munhoz came out and set the tone early with volume, which of course he knows and we know and everyone knows that Cheeto tends to start slow, so that was the right thing for him to do. As the round went on, Cheeto did respond a bit and open up. Maybe not as much as we wanted to, but definitely more than usual. But with that said, watching live, I still thought Cheeto had dropped round one. And at the end of the fight, because I also gave round two to Munhoz, I was like, wow, what a gift he just got with that decision. But I've now rewatched round one, well, the whole fight, but I've rewatched round one twice to score it. And both times I scored it for Marlon Vera. Munhoz missed more than you think in that round. Vera lands the bigger shots in that round. And to me, that's the swing round of the fight. The second round, Munhoz, I thought, took it. I know like 90% on them made decisions, I believe, had the second for Munhoz. Most had the first from, I think it was like 60 had the first for Munhoz. So I think more had it for Munhoz than Vera. But yeah, in the second, Vera landed, I thought, significantly less clean than he had in the first, and obviously less clean than he did in the third. But I thought Munhoz dictated that round and took that round. But then in the third, Cheeto rose to the occasion. He had his best round. He stung Pedro multiple times. He had all the biggest moments of the fight in that round. And I do think the length mattered in the end for Cheeto, which is what I kind of leaned on in my preview of this fight, because the jab was a big factor. And anytime they had like their quick firefight exchanges, it was Cheeto landing a bit more and a bit cleaner because he was kind of standing just outside of Munhoz's range in those firefight exchanges. And then combine that with the fact that he can take a shot as good as anyone, and he's the harder hitter of the two. It was enough. It was enough to edge these cards. And I thought he won it pride style as well based on the third round. And then, like I said, on my rewatches, I actually was like, shit, I got to give him the first. So I am glad the decision went his way. At first, I was like, oh, shit, but I'm glad it did. And, yeah, as we mentioned, I'm curious to see if he just walked himself right into a title fight.
Yeah. Yeah. Could be. And we talked about earlier, that probably could make the most sense for the division and for the belt and for the promotion. So we don't really need to talk about what is next for Cheeto, because we've kind of already been over that with the main event. But Mark, let's talk about Pedro Munhoz and where he could go from here.
Yeah, and Shido's so easy too. Like, if it isn't the title fight, and they were like, he's fighting Marab, he's fighting Cejudo, he's fighting Jan, all of it would be like, wow, sick. You know, it's like for any of these dudes, he hasn't fought so many of them yet. Munhoz, yeah, he almost pulled that off, man. He's still damn good. He's a guy that was almost getting not written off, but he was kind of getting looked over a few fights back, and the dude is still right there. So I'm gonna give him a shot in a pretty meaningful fight. I will say the winner of Jonathan Martinez and Adrian Yanez should fight Pedro Munhoz.
Ooh. Omar, any other bright ideas?
So I did put Garbrandt 2 on there. It's been a minute since they fought, and I believe Garbrandt got knocked out by Munhoz. I still think Garbrandt should fight, what's his face? Mario Batista, just because that was already scheduled. But if that doesn't happen, I also did have Martinez and Yanez on my bingo card here, but I had the loser of Yanez and Martinez. I don't hate the winner, but that was just where I went.